It's locked.
Hello again, Jonathan. To what do I owe the pleasure of your visit?
Sorry to disturb you again, but could you spare me a few minutes?
Of course, my dear. Always a pleasure to speak with you.
Do you think we shall ever see better days? Or at least, better nights?
I know not, Jonathan. I have seen some horrid days in my long lifetime. Experience has taught me that one cannot outrun the fates.
Will you tell me your story one day, Lady Asprey?
One of them, perhaps. I have had so many lives, Jonathan. Eternity may not be enough to relate them all.
When all of this is over, the war and the epidemic, we could leave the city for a while. Travel around Europe, you and I.
Traveling is always so complicated for us poor creatures of the night. But yes, I would be glad to travel the world with you, my dear.
Concerning your investigation...
Yes?
Are you truly seeking to identify my maker?
I cannot promise you anything, but yes. I am conducting some research of my own.
Do you know if the epidemic has affected many people in the West End?
I confess I've been more concerned by events in the East End. The wealthy have more efficient ways of dealing with infection.
But this is no common epidemic.
That is true. I must tell my daughter to stay at home for a few days. But the girl is stubborn and fiercely independent, much like her mother.
Goodbye, Elizabeth. Hello again.
Good evening.
Are you concerned about the living conditions in the city?
Of course I am. I'll be stuck here for as long as Oswald refuses to go to hospital. And, unfortunately, it seems the violence is rising.
What kind of violence?
I believe people have armed themselves and started to attack those that show signs of contagion.
Goodbye, Mr. Bl. Good evening.
Evening, Doc.
Are you concerned about the
Not really. Sick people, men in arms, fighting every night. I already faced all this during the war.
Goodbye.
Hello, Jonathan. Back from the city already? How is the situation over there?
Tense, to say the least.
I am sure every obstacle will cede to your relentless determination. In the meantime, can I be of any help?
What can you tell me about the Great Hunt?
A sad story, my dear friend. Tragic, in fact. The Brotherhood was betrayed by some of its most trusted members.
Tell me about the betrayal.
The founders of the Guard of Priwen stole precious and unique documents and reports from the Brotherhood's library when they left. They used them to identify and locate their next targets.
Why was it a tragedy?
Not only did the Guard of Priwen hunt down and kill most ancient vampires of England, they also destroyed or confiscated their possessions. Priceless knowledge was lost in just a few nights.
What can you tell me about Lord Redgrave?
Oh, the legendary founder of the Ascalon Club. I'm afraid I cannot help you with that, Jonathan.
Are you afraid of him? Is he that dangerous?
No, but since most ancient vampires were killed or fled England during the Great Hunt of 1850, he may be the oldest British vampire. A myth in the flesh, so to speak.
So you do know him?
All the Brotherhood knows about him is highly confidential. He is dangerously intimate with the royal family and Britain's inner circles.
Did you know that Lady Ashbury is an artist? And rather a good one.
Well, actually, yes. I attended an exhibition of her paintings before the war. Beautiful landscapes and stunning portraits. I wish I had purchased one.
Perhaps we could go to her next exhibition, you and I.
What a beautiful idea, Jonathan. Did you know she told me once she had been a model for famous painters? But she never told me which ones.
I shall return later. Thank you, Edgar.
Goswicks came here in the first place?
It's locked, all right. It's locked.
Recognize you?
No. This one ain't on our list.
Well, that's one less anyway. It'll make McCullum happy.
That was the vampire I saw earlier. This war takes no prisoners. I cannot enter. It's locked.
Don't come closer! You're mine! Die, Lee!
The West End. Never have I felt so sad to be back home.
Burn it, boys! Filthy fucking beast!
I cannot enter. The Ascalon Club. The heart of British vampire society. Not quite as subtle as I expected. Good evening, miss.
Oh my god, no. Please, Mr. Vampire, don't kill me. Please, no. I'm too young to die. I still have so much to offer this world.
Wait, no. Why do you think I would... What?
Don't worry, Dr. Reed. I know you wouldn't harm me. Mother told me you were in this part of town and might drop by.
Your mother?
My name is Charlotte, sir. Charlotte Ashbury. My mother taught me long ago how to recognize the signs that betray a vampire.
I understand she also taught you how to tease and gently mock innocent young Ekons. It's a pleasure to meet you, Miss Charlotte. Tell me about your adoption.
What do you want to know?
Who are your real parents?
Elizabeth Ashbury is my real mother. She raised me and has taken care of me all my life. I have no idea who my progenitors are or were.
Do you live with her?
I still spend a lot of time in my mother's mansion, but I have my own house now. I have a life to live, you see. And one day, I'll have my death to face.
How did you meet Lady Ashbury?
First, I was an orphan in the institution for girls she manages in the West End. When I was 10, she adopted me, and I have lived with her ever since.
Did you know she was a vampire when she picked you?
The correct word is Ekon, Doctor. And no, I had no idea why my mother only showed up at night. She told me everything when I turned 16, though I suspected the truth for a long time before that.
What do you think about this part of town?
I was raised here, and I suppose it feels like home. You grew up in this part of town too, did you not?
Yes, I was born a few streets away.
A small world, is it not? Did you ever imagine that my mother was your neighbor all that time? That you could have met her in a dark alley at night?
You won't trick me twice, young lady. We both know Lady Ashbury never hunts or attacks prey at random.
Come on, Doctor. Don't tell me you never thought about that possibility. Her fangs on your neck. Oh, are you blushing, Dr. Reed?
Is there something that's bothering you?
Too much selfishness and individualism for my taste. Even when there was no epidemic.
Even if that's partly true, may I remind you that many charitable institutions are financed by the selfish and filthy rich.
I suppose you're right. But society must reform and renew itself, or we are all done for.
What are you doing out here?
You mean, what do I do outside at night since I am a woman? Let me ask you a question, sir. Would you ask the same question of a man?
Actually, yes. I ask the same question to everyone who dares to go outside at night, considering the risks.
Well, if you must know, I campaign for the right to vote for all women. Why should I wait to the age of 30 years when men can vote at 21?
Are you a suffragette, then? Oh, you really are Elizabeth's girl. Without a doubt.
All adult women have the right to vote in the US, in New Zealand, and in Australia. But women here can't vote unless they are property owners.
No need to convince me, Miss Charlotte. I have shared your opinion for a long time. Even before I met Emmeline Pankhurst.
Really? Oh. Now I see why my mother appreciates you so much. Too bad there aren't more men like you in the vicinity.
How are the locals reacting to your claims?
People here can't wait for a wall to be built to isolate the West End from the rest of town. That's how progressive they are. If this happens, Emily and I will blow it up.
Explosives are very dangerous, young lady. And who is this Emily?
She is my best friend, and a suffragette too. She was supposed to campaign with me tonight, but hasn't turned up.
Have you any reason to be worried about her?
Recently, Emily started to believe in... well, she got interested in vampires. I'm afraid she might be in trouble.
Let me guess. You spoke to her about us, didn't you? Despite your mother's warning. I think I should try to find your friend.
Oh, that would be top-notch. I can tell you where she might have gone. You have my thanks, Dr. Reed. And please, don't tell my mother.
What exactly has your mother told you about me?
Your name and profession, obviously. And the mystery about your maker. I'm sorry to hear about what happened to your sister, sir. Mother says it was not your fault.
Does it not scare you to know what I am? What your mother is?
Why should it? My mother is the most compassionate woman. Must I be wary of her, Dr. Reed? Or you?
Of course not. You have nothing to fear from me, or your mother.
Good to know. And don't worry, my mother told me everything I need to know about vampire tricks, their nature as well as features.
Your mother is not like any other vampire I've met.
I believe she thinks the same about you, Dr. Reed.
Your mother has refused to turn you into a vampire. Tell me more about it.
Each time we argue, Mother expresses the same fear. She wants me to remain alive and full of joy, rather than become melancholy and immortal. She claims you can't have one without the other. It's pure selfishness.
It's your mother's choice. As daughters and sons, we have to accept the decisions our parents make for us despite our own wishes.
I love my mother, and have accepted everything from her. Even that she named me Charlotte, when it was not my original name.
Does it bother you?
No. Whoever I was when I was born, I am now Charlotte Ashbury. It hurts as much as it makes me proud to know that's the name my mother will read on my tombstone.
Your mother has walked this earth for much longer than you or I. She is wise, and we should not ignore her advice when we disagree with it.
But why shouldn't I be allowed to forge my own experience? There can't be only one righteous way to deal with eternity.
Do you know why Lady Ashbury chose you to become her daughter?
No, I don't. Each time I ask her that question, she smiles and says it's precisely because I dare to ask such questions.
Do you ever regret that she chose you?
Of course not. Though I often wonder if she adopted others before me. If so, where are they buried? How was it for them to pass through life with a never-aging mother?
Why do you still hope to become a vampire in spite of your mother's refusal?
It's the immortal aspect of vampires that interests me. The world won't improve unless women take charge. I'm convinced of that.
You're obviously a clever woman with a good education and a brilliant future. But have you thought about the price you'd have to pay? The loneliness, the necessary masquerade.
Is it not true of every high position? To change this world and make it a better place, one needs time on one's side.
Tell me, Charlotte, how do you plan to achieve eternal life, since you've obviously given it a lot of thought?
I won't give up. You have no idea how determined I am, sir. I may contract a deadly disease. I may throw myself under a carriage, just to be saved by her sweet kiss.
That's a disturbing answer, young lady. And the worst part of it is, I know you speak the truth.
There are less dangerous ways, Doctor. Instead of throwing myself under a horse like Emily Davison, I could just throw myself into your arms.
Stop playing this game at once, Charlotte. This is unworthy of you, of your mother, and of myself.
I'm sorry, Dr. Reed. Please forgive me. That was stupid.
Goodbye, Charlotte. Give my best regards to your mother when you see her.
She's been quite busy these last few nights. I suspect you may see her before me.
Hello? Is anyone there?
Jonathan, is that you? I did not know you were back in London. Oh, my dear Johnny. I'm so sorry for your loss. Mary was such a sweetheart.
Thank you, Venus. May I come in?
I was going to bed, actually.
Forgive me. With the epidemic, I tend to forget people are supposed to sleep at night.
I'll tell you what. Come back tomorrow for tea. I'll be glad to see you then.
Good evening, miss. Can I help you? I'm a doctor. Dr. Jonathan Reed.
I am Karina Billow. I don't need any doctor. The rats. Where are the rats?
Miss, you don't seem well at all. Are you afraid of rats? Has one bitten you?
No, it's me who bites them. Tasty, juicy, disgusting rats. I can't stop eating them. Help me, please. Help me to disobey the voice.
Tell me about yourself, Miss Billow. What do you do for a living?
Oh, I'm hungry. Need to eat. Have you got something for me? Blood, perhaps? Can you give me blood, Dr. Reed?
Don't you remember who you are, miss? What you did for work?
I was strong, proud. I campaigned for good causes. But that was before. Before. It does not matter anymore. I'm so hungry.
What happened to you?
The rats. The answer hides in their little crunchy bones. Their juicy, tiny brains.
Miss Billow, please, try to concentrate. Why do you worry about rats so much?
The voice in my head. He forces me to do so. Drink their blood, he said. Eat their flesh.
Tell me about the voice in your head. Who is it? Can you describe it? Is it someone you know, someone you met?
Keep your mouth shut, he said. Don't ever speak about me, or I'll abandon you. Help me, please, Doctor.
Do you feel compelled to obey that voice, Miss Billow? Even if you're loath to submit to it?
Yes. Please. Help.
What is the local news hereabouts, Miss Billow?
Shadows. Shadows hunting shadows. Whispers in the dark. Pestilence. Suffering. Death.
I must go now. Goodbye, Miss Billow. It's locked, all right. It's locked.
Where shall I eat tonight?
It's locked, all right. Good evening, sir. Please forgive me for disturbing you. I'm a doctor.
I never judge a man by his title, but by his attitude. And you are not disturbing me at all. I am Calhoun Russell, and I welcome you.
Well, I must admit it's good to receive a warm welcome for once. I'm Jonathan Reed.
Welcome, Dr. Reed. Welcome to my humble shop.
What can you tell me about this place?
I recently found the best steak and kidney pie in the city. I'd be glad to share the address if you want.
Finding a good restaurant? Is that really all that interests you?
Oh, I have many passions, but nothing brings me ecstasy like subtle and exquisite flavors from my teeth to my belly.
I must confess, I have quite specific tastes when it comes to nutrition.
Really? Well, I'm always happy to try new exotic meals. If you ever find an intriguing table, please share the address.
How is the situation in this part of town?
Life is good and peaceful. We're lucky to live in such an era of progress and wonders.
Are you not concerned about the epidemic?
Oh, I'm sure the authorities would take the appropriate measure if the danger were that high.
I'm afraid the newspapers are seriously underestimating the situation. Things are critical, believe me.
Well, that's news then. But I can't believe that things are that bad. Are you sure you're not exaggerating a bit? For the thrill of it?
Is it not a little too late to be trading?
On the contrary, it is the perfect hour. Believe me, my friend, it is always at night that you meet the most fascinating characters.
But what about the epidemic? The bombs and raids? And all the random violence?
Please, sir, this is London, England. We will prevail. And if a bomb must fall on my shop, then I'll be there to hear it falling.
So you prefer to work at night?
Oh, I also enjoy a sunny day like everybody else. But the night always has a certain je ne sais quoi of its own.
Do you have any family nearby?
Not since my parents died. I'm London's lone gourmet.
London's lone gourmet? What a strange title.
I used that name in my early years when I was a food critic, and I kept it.
Really? But you seem to be such a pleasant and sociable fellow.
I'm afraid the real hedonist has to be sometimes. I discovered ecstasy as a solitary pleasure, but it does not mean it can't ever be shared.
I may have a look at your goods, Mr. Russell.
Don't let any strangers come into your house. Have you noticed anything suspicious recently? Please remember, don't let any strangers come into your house.
Mother, good evening.
Jonathan! Is it you? Where have you been, my prodigal son?
I'm right here, Mother. I'm finally home.
Yes, for this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and now found. But where is your sister? Where is Mary?
Mary? She is gone, Mother.
I know she's gone. The question is, when will she return as you have? I miss my grandson so much. It's been days since their last visit.
Have you returned to Whitechapel Cemetery since Mary's funeral?
I never want to go back to that awful place. Wait. I think I went back once. And you were there too. And Mary? No, that can't be true.
It was just a bad dream, Mother.
A nightmare, yes. Mary was so angry. I walked back home alone. If that kind policeman had not called Avery from the station, I don't know what would have happened.
Mother, do you know what's been going on in this area?
Not really. I don't go out much due to the epidemic, and when I do, I tend to get lost.
What do you mean you get lost? I hope you don't go outside alone.
Of course not. When I go out, your father always comes with me, but he leaves me there sometimes, and I have trouble finding the way back.
Do you need anything, Mother? Can I help you?
I just want you to stay with me, Jonathan. Your room is ready. I asked Avery to make your bed.
I'll stay as long as I can, I promise. Do you need anything else?
Just one thing. Stop staring at me like that. As much as I love you, it breaks my heart to look at those empty, dead eyes.
Are you working on a new painting?
Not recently. I have trouble focusing on my subject, and my mind quickly drifts. It's the same thing when I try to write poetry.
I recently met a talented painter with an excellent technique. I wish you two could meet. I'm sure you'd like her.
I'd be glad to meet her. What is her name? Is she famous? Is she dead too?
She's not famous, and her name is of no importance. And yes, she is also dead.
The important thing is, I hope you two get along. If she ever fancies meeting your mother, I'd be glad to welcome her into my home.
Why do you say Mary is visiting you, Mother? You know that's impossible.
Why should it be? Are you not standing in front of me right now? Why should it be any different with your sister?
But Mary really is dead, Mother.
Yes. And are you not dead too? Isn't your father dead? And my grandson? And my son-in-law? You're all gone. But you all still visit me from time to time.
But I'm not dead, Mother. I'm really here, talking to you, trying not to cry.
Oh, it breaks my heart to have to tell you this. But of course you're dead, my darling boy. Just look at you, as pale as my Mary.
Goodbye, Mother.
Goodbye, son. Please come back soon. Aubrey, I'm not sure visiting Italy is a good idea this time of the year.
It's locked, all right. It's locked.
Your brother will return. I know.
I remember Sunday walks in the park.
Yes, Jonathan. Spending next summer in France. Absolutely. Why not?
Hello?
Jonathan!
Father seems to have left me some documents. Some sort of treasure hunt game. Do you know anything about them?
No, Johnny. But your father always loved to write these little games for you when you were a boy. Don't you remember?
I remember now. He used to post me these riddles, as though they were sent by a mysterious games master. I'd spend weeks trying to decipher them.
Your father was always so proud each time you found the answer. He was not just the serious, dour banker everybody thought he was.
I was proud too. How could I forget that?
The important thing is that you remember it now. I'll tell your father the next time I see him. He'll be so happy.
Could Father have conceived some sort of final game for me before he left?
I really can't say, Johnny. Perhaps you should talk with Avery about that. He was your father's confidant, more than I.
Why do you say...
What?
Goodbye.
Goodbye, son.
Good evening, Avery.
Mr. Jonathan? I can't believe my own eyes. Oh, it's a miracle. We all thought you were... Oh, sir, your poor sister. What a tragedy.
I know, Avery. I know about my sister's murder.
Miss Reed expected you to return to assist with the funeral, right up until the last minute. Where have you been, Mr. Jonathan? We needed you here.
How is my mother?
Not well, I'm afraid, sir. Miss Reed is very fragile since the police brought her back home.
The police? What happened?
Miss Reed was found walking in the streets. She kept saying she had spoken with her son and daughter. She's resting now.
Has she received appropriate medical care?
I'm taking care of Miss Reed myself. Hospitals are so overwhelmed by the epidemic that they can only accept patients infected by influenza.
Perhaps we could arrange a short trip. Somewhere sunny, like France. She has always been very fond of France. I think leaving London could do her good.
I'm afraid Miss Reed is too frail for the moment. Recently, she started going out at night without remembering it. I have to watch her carefully.
What is the situation in this part of town?
For a time, the West End seemed spared by the epidemic. But the situation is getting much worse.
Have you no relatives anywhere? I'll understand if you want to take a few days to see family.
Your father managed to guarantee my earnings as long as I take care of this house, sir. My sisters are dead, and I've never met my nephews. I'll stay, sir.
I'm sorry I could not be here for Mary's funeral.
Your mother was strong, sir, but your support would have been appreciated. Apart from the priest and I, no one else attended your sister's funeral.
To be present at the funeral with you both was my dearest wish, Avery. But I am sorry, I simply could not attend.
I would not dare to question your absence, Mr. Jonathan. All I can say is that we missed you a great deal during these difficult days.
I found an old letter written by my father and addressed to me. Do you know anything about it, Avery?
Your father wanted me to give you this letter for your 35th birthday, but you left for the war, and the letter remained in his office until tonight.
I realize now you knew my father better than I did. Do you know why he left, Avery? Did he ever speak to you about his departure?
No, sir. Mr. Reed was not exactly forthcoming. Perhaps this letter will give you the information you require.
Tell me the truth, Avery. Do you feel forced to stay here? Would you leave this house without the arrangement made by my father?
No, sir. I have nowhere else to go. And I promised your father I'd take care of his family as long as I live.
This house is dead, Avery. There is a curse on this family. You really should consider leaving.
If only you could have been here sooner or more often. Maybe this house would not be that empty. But you're here now, sir. So my task is not over.
You have served this family extremely well, Avery. Your support during these terrible times is much appreciated.
Then I will stay. All I ask is that you take care of my own funeral if I die before the end of the epidemic. No mass grave, please, sir.
Do you really think I don't take enough care of my mother, Avery?
Yes, I do, Mr. Jonathan.
You clearly have something more to say. Speak your mind, Avery.
I know you work hard to help the sick, but what will you do once the epidemic is over?
My home is here, and I have nowhere else to go. But this house will need some improvements if I move here. Some radical changes.
That's good news. Whatever changes you have in mind, I'm sure we will find an arrangement that suits your mother also.
Goodbye, Avery. Please watch over my mother until I return.
Of course, Mr. Jonathan. But please return as soon as possible.
Good evening, sir. May I have your attention, please?
Come on, Johnny. Don't you recognize your oldest friend?
Clarence. Clarence Crossley. How are you? My God. So you survived the war too. So sorry I didn't recognize you at first.
I almost didn't recognize you either. War does that to men, I heard. In my case, it was true, for I witnessed the horror that lies underneath.
When did you escape the war and return to London?
You know what's funny? I almost never think about the war. Not anymore. I'm involved in another kind of battle now.
What is this new battle?
I saw terrible things during the war. Horrors I thought I'd forget. They're here too. They're everywhere. Vampires.
I know what you mean. I haven't had much time to think about the war either since my return.
Of course. With the epidemic, I bet you've been busy as well. Forgive me, Johnny, I didn't want to sound selfish.
How is your wife, Venus?
We've spent so much time away from each other. And so many things have happened.
Is everything all right at home? Surely Venus was relieved to see you return from France in one piece.
Have you forgot what people are like in this part of town, Johnny? Venus fears for our family reputation. Now her husband has become the village idiot.
But you're alive. You returned in one piece and you have a family. How many soldiers can say the same?
Believe me, it's not quite that simple. Unlike you, I'm not the man I used to be.
Do you need medical assistance, Clarence?
It's a little late for visiting hours, don't you think?
What can I say? I haven't lost my old habits.
I hope we're talking about the same habits, old friend.
You need some rest, Clarence. You should try to sleep.
Support the equality between men and women.
Good evening, Doctor.
I may have a look at your...
Women die too. War. Women of all countries unite. Women's right to vote in
Did you hear me? Don't come closer, sir. There's one of them! Over there!
I'll win this. Your prey is mine now!
Fresh water. As long as it's not holy water, I may find some use for it. I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. Do you need help, sir?
I think I'm fine. But what happened to my jailer? Be careful. He's as vicious as he is strong.
You don't have to worry about him anymore. What happened here?
I am Tadao Kimura. I was imprisoned by this lunatic for several days. I thought I was going to die here.
You're not going to die now, Mr. Kimura. If you hurry, you should be able to get home safely.
It seems that I owe you my life. You have all my gratitude, Dr. Reed, since it is the most precious thing I possess.
Goodbye, Mr. Kimura. Take care. Are you sure you'll map?
Yes,
Goodbye, Mr. I have this thirst for blood. I can't believe I'm doing this.
Women's right to vote is only the first step.
Not a good easy going, boys. Deal with this Die! dirty monster!
Best be moving on.
I had almost forgotten I applied for a position at Pembroke. That was so long ago. this thirst for blood. I can't believe I'm doing this. This is despicable. I have this thirst for blood. I can't believe I'm doing this. There has been a fight here. I can see a blood trail. Left by one of the antagonists, perhaps?
Traitor!
shall learn to respect the laws of Ascalon! Foolish Ekon! Die, newborn! Kneel, traitor! Die! Kneel! You shall learn to respect the laws of Ascalon! No one can hide from Ascalon! Die, newborn! No one can hide from Ascalon! Ah!
power, newborn!
Louise's father was determined to find and save her.
Keep me locked in here! Disgusting arsehole! Vampire or not, I'll never be your wife!
How dare you interfere with my hunt?
How long are you gonna keep me locked in here? How long are you gonna keep me locked in here?
I have this thirst for blood.
Good morning.
It's
Good evening,
locked.
sir.
Good evening, Miss Price. I'm Dr. Reed. Do you remember me?
Dr. Reed? Yes, of course. You are the doctor who healed me and my mum. Good evening, Dr. Reed.
Good to see you too, Carol. Are you all right?
Oh, yes. I did not hurt myself recently. I know how to take care of myself now. I'm almost a grown-up.
Why are you awake at night, Carol?
I am helping my mother in her shop. It's not easy, but I'm a grown-up now.
I'm sure your mother is grateful for your help.
I do the best I can. But I'm so clumsy sometimes. I drop things. I injure myself. It's a good thing my mother has the patience of an angel.
Why is work not easy? Is something or someone bothering you?
Oh no, most people are gentle with me. But I'm so nervous sometimes. I pay no attention and hurt myself. Good thing my mum learned first aid.
What can you tell me of the people living nearby?
I don't speak to many people, except our customers. It's not easy to make friends. And with the epidemic, it's even more difficult.
Have you no friends at all?
No. Mr. Nithercote used to pass by and was always nice to me.
Does he not come by anymore?
No. Mum said he was weird. Always reciting poetry about a girl he'd met in Whitechapel. I wonder who this camellia may be.
What can you tell me about the epidemic?
Some of our regular customers have left London. Some others only send their housemaids now. Everybody fears the contagion. I've even seen men with weapons.
Do you enjoy working with your mother?
Oh yes, Doctor. My mother raised me alone after my father died. We've always lived together, and she has always watched over me.
Do you ever think about getting married now you're a woman?
Oh no, Dr. Reed. Mum always says I'm still a child who has no idea how tough life can be. No husband would like a clumsy girl like me.
Do you remember your father?
No, I was just a baby then. My mother always told me how strong and good he was.
Goodbye, Carol.
I hope you can stay a little longer this time.
I am sorry, I can't help you, sir. Perhaps you should talk with someone
Good
else.
evening, Miss Price. How are you tonight?
Dr. Reed, I didn't know you had returned from the war. I had a new doctor when you left, but he's not as kind as you.
Always glad to see a former patient in good condition. It's been a long time.
Too long indeed. And as a token of my appreciation, I'll grant you the best price if you fancy buying anything from my humble shop.
May I look at your...
It's always a pleasure. Doctor,
Good evening, Miss Price.
you know you can call me Carolyn, my dear doctor.
Carol's gratitude is exemplary. She seems determined never to leave you.
I'm taking care of my daughter as well as I can. It's not always easy, but she's the best gift life gave me.
But she'll probably leave you someday to live her own life. Will that be difficult for you?
Why would she leave? Children sometimes stay with their parents until the end, for they know no one else will love them as much.
What can you tell me about yourself, Miss Price?
I'm still managing my shop. The only difference is, since the quarantine, we're open at night. You, on the contrary, seem to have changed a lot.
Really? Have I changed that much? It must have been the war and the night shifts since my return.
Don't get me wrong, Dr. Reed, you're still handsome. Just maybe a little bit wiser, more serious. It suits you well.
Tell me more about yourself. No new fiancé? I remember you were hoping to get remarried. I'm sure you must have a few suitors.
Who would marry an old bat like myself with a grown daughter and a little business? As you know, I only fancy handsome men like yourself.
Have you noticed anything in particular in this part of town recently?
Other than you coming back to cheer me up? Nothing at all, Dr. Reed.
Does your daughter still worry you, Miss Price? I remember you were often concerned about her health when she was younger.
Have you not seen Carol since you returned? She's almost a young woman now. But she'll always remain my sweet little baby.
So you're less afraid?
Some things never change. Carol is still too clumsy for her own good. Sometimes her innocence puts her in real danger.
Why would her innocence put her in danger?
She does not realize how cruel life can be. Maybe I was a bad mother to protect her too much. My poor dear Carol.
You have every reason to be cautious, Miss Price. Especially in these difficult times.
Maybe you could talk with her, Dr. Reed. It would be nice to have a man here more often. We would both feel safer.
Good.
I hope you can stay a little longer this time.
Good evening, young lady.
My mother always...
Goodbye, Captain.
Good morning. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. May I ask you what you're doing here at this late hour?
I'm conducting an investigation about the epidemic in this part of town.
And who are you, sir?
I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed from the Pembroke Hospital. May I ask who you are and why all the questions?
I'm Detective Inspector Charles Albright from Scotland Yard. And I don't find your answers convincing. What is a Pembroke doctor doing in the West End at this time of night?
I'm here on my own, sir. I have no official appointment other than my desire to save lives.
Then we have the same objective, sir. The difference is, to catch my suspect, I use a magnifying glass and handcuffs instead of a microscope.
Why are you investigating at night?
Criminals rarely act in daylight, you know. But since you are also a night worker, have you noticed anything strange which requires police attention?
Does the name Fergal ring a bell? Fergal Bancher?
Of course it does. Fergal Bancher, the Butcher of Galway. Hung in Dublin in 1857 for murdering more than 20 men with his bare hands. Why are you so interested in dead criminals, sir?
What can you tell me about this district?
I'm the one asking questions, especially when there's a killer on the loose.
What killer?
I'm not going to discuss that with a civilian, sir.
Haven't I told you about the investigation I'm conducting? Perhaps I could help you.
All right, without giving you too much information, I'll tell you this. I'm convinced there is a homicidal maniac on the loose, using the epidemic to disguise his kills.
And what about the epidemic?
We both know the situation is critical, don't we, Doctor? Colleagues of mine die almost every day.
What are you really doing here?
I told you. I'm a detective inspector from Scotland Yard, investigating suspicious cases in the area.
Do you work alone?
Yes, the situation is difficult for the police. Many of us are sick, and since the summer strike, most men apply a work to rule on their patrols.
What about the situation in the East End? Why are there no police there to protect the civilians?
I know, it's a shame, but we just don't have enough men to cover the entire city.
Tell me all you know about that homicidal maniac you're looking for.
I'm not even sure there is only one. The wounds are always the same, but the modus operandi varies. Sometimes violent and brutal, sometimes precise and swift.
How could different killers inflict the same wounds?
That's my main problem. If my theory is correct, maybe we're facing a group of individuals sharing the same violent tendencies. Perhaps a sadist cult.
What are you investigating, exactly?
I currently have a few missing persons cases. Mr. Tadao Kimura and Miss Louise Teasdale. I'm afraid they may have been abducted by my mysterious maniac.
Tell me about Louise Teasdale.
She's a waitress. Her father reported her missing. We don't have enough men to search for her, sadly.
Do you have any idea where she could be?
No. But I feel she's been abducted. She went to a pub a few nights ago and vanished. I thought about the sewers, but I'm not equipped for such an investigation.
Tell me about Mr. Kimura.
Mr. Kimura is a businessman who has been missing for a few days. He didn't go home, didn't go to work, didn't go back to his family.
Where was he last seen?
Mr. Kimura was last seen at the Royal Observatory in Greenwich. I followed a possible lead in the West End, but I found nothing.
Goodbye, Detective Inspector Albright.
Goodbye, Dr. Jonathan Reed. I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
You know better!
Let me go, you bastard! How long are you gonna keep me locked in here?
You're feeble!
Let me go, you bastard! keep me locked in here?
Your prey is mine now!
Let me go, you bastard!
You feeble!
Disgusting arsehole! Vampire or not, I'll never be your wife! How long are you gonna keep me locked in here?
Stupid newborn!
Let me go, you bastard!
Miss Teasdale, are you all right?
How do you know my name? Who are you?
My name is Dr. Reed. I managed to track you down thanks to your father.
So my father really was looking after me. This man, this vampire told me my father was dead. Is it true?
I'm afraid so, miss. I'm so sorry for your loss. But you are free to go, as your abductor is no more.
I suppose my jailer also killed my father, didn't he?
Thankfully, he did not search your father's corpse, where I found his notes describing where he might find you. You should read them.
I must find my father's body. He deserves a proper burial.
Goodbye, Miss Teasdale, and be careful. Until we meet again.
London that I knew.
Good evening, Miss Price.
You know you...
May I...
It's always a... I hope you can stay a little longer this time.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. Can I be of assistance?
Dr. Reed? Dr. Reed?
Is there anything wrong?
No, it's just... Your name sounds familiar. And your face. Have we met before?
I think I would remember. So I suppose the answer is no.
That's odd. I'm certain I've already heard of you. My name is Pericles Baker. Does that mean anything to you?
I'm afraid not, sir. But it's a pleasure to meet you anyway.
The pleasure is mine, I guess. I only wish I could remember when it was that we met.
Tell me about yourself, Mr. Baker. What are you doing out here in the middle of the night?
We are waiting. Waiting for someone.
And why are you waiting for this person?
Because we need to leave this city. As soon as possible.
Why do you want to leave the city?
I'm not really sure.
Can you tell me anything about this district?
As you like asking questions so much, would you allow me to ask you one first?
Please, be my guest.
Do you like this city?
I know we are not living in the most peaceful of times, but I have learned to appreciate London's complexity.
Yes, me too. This city tests us. It invites us to find ourselves, to discover our true nature scattered throughout its dark streets.
But what if we don't like what we find?
Do we ever know who we are? I wonder sometimes. Or maybe it is the journey to find out who we are that changes us.
And what do you do, sir? For a living, that is.
I stopped working when I decided to leave. When I realized what I wanted. Wanted something this city can't provide.
Tell me more about why you want to leave London, then.
I just don't belong here anymore. I had to convince my brother to leave London because I know we need to find another life out of the city.
But what were you doing before you took this decision?
Does it really matter anymore? Considering the past seems so pointless to me. I have lived in this city all my life. And now I think it's over.
Who are you waiting for? I'm sure he has a name.
I really can't answer that question, since I don't know that person.
And why is that?
This person is mostly my brother's acquaintance. I don't even know his real name. Only that this man could help us leave this city once and for all.
But why would you need this person's help to leave London anyway?
Well, I thought we should have left this cursed place already, but my brother convinced me to stay a while longer, and here we are.
Goodbye, Mr. Baker. Good evening, Mr. Baker. Goodbye, Mr. Baker.
The Spanish flu is not the only hidden killer around here.
Good evening, sir. I am Dr. Jonathan Reed. Do you need my help?
Yes, please. Would you be kind enough to tell me what the time is?
That's all you need to know.
Well, is it not important to know? As important as where you are? Or who you are?
I suppose you're right. And who are you then, sir?
I am Agamemnon Baker. Like my brother, I think we need to leave this city immediately. And my brother and I rarely agree on anything.
May I ask why you've not gone already, if you're so exasperated by this long wait?
I believe fear is holding us back. My brother would have said it's laziness, but it's just because he's prouder than I am.
May I ask what you're doing outside at this hour of night?
I don't know. You should ask my brother instead. It was his idea in the first place.
You must have your own ideas.
From what I have managed to understand, I guess we're supposed to wait here. Waiting for someone to come.
What can you tell me about this part of town?
It's the only place I've considered myself happy. Or at least that's what I believe. Unfortunately, it's time to leave.
Why is that?
Because I'm not feeling happy here anymore. Are you?
I still enjoy living in London, no matter how difficult it can be sometimes.
Then I am sincerely happy for you. True happiness in life seems to be the most difficult goal to reach these days.
What can you tell me about your brother?
He's older than me, I think. But the important thing is that I really hope I'll die before him. Grief would just kill me, you know?
Is that all?
Pericles is very attached to this city, and without my insistence, he would never leave this place. We don't often agree on anything, you see.
Who are you waiting for, exactly?
The more I think about it, the more I believe it's not exactly a person we are waiting for.
But what else could it be, then?
I don't know. A feeling? An event? An impulse? How can I tell? Something that would allow us to leave this trap.
Trap? And you think leaving London will free you?
At least it will give us the chance to be free. That's more than our present situation. Hope, Doctor. Hope is what truly drives mankind.
I'm afraid I'm not following you. What kind of trap are you talking about?
Have you ever felt like life trapped you in a role that does not fit you? That you are not in your place? That sort of trap.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Baker. Good evening, Mr. Baker. Heracles, tell me why your brother disagrees with your presence here.
Agamemnon is naive sometimes. Although don't consider him a fool, sir. He is often more lucid than me.
What can you tell me about your brother?
If you are searching for a pleasant chat, you should speak with him instead of wasting your time with me. He has always been the more gentle of us.
That's it? That's all you can tell me about him?
For the time being. True kindness is the most valuable quality, my good sir.
At least you both have the same difficulty explaining what you're doing, and for what reason.
But is that not a common problem for all mortals?
Goodbye, Mr. Baker.
Hello again.
Goodbye for...
Do you remember if we've seen someone recently?
Doctor?
What are you investigating?
I currently...
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Doctor. Many murders to investigate them all. But they were not.
It's locked, all
Cards
right.
never lie, but they are never easy to read. Jonathan Reed. At last we meet. The cards warned me you would visit tonight.
I beg your pardon, sir. Do I know you?
Of course you do. Our mutual friend, Dr. Swansea, can't speak highly enough of you. My name is Usher. Usher Talltree.
You are the leader of the Brotherhood, are you not?
Primate of the Brotherhood of St. Paul's Stole, to be precise. I'm really glad we met tonight. I love it when the cards tell me a truth.
The cards told you to expect me.
Yes, they tell me everything. They told me that you struggle hard not to take too many lives.
Can you read the cards for me?
Are you sure you want to know what they will reveal?
Yes, I am.
It will cost you 150 shillings.
Here is the money.
Love. pure and unseen, untold. The two hearts love each other without knowing it, without daring to admit it.
Can you read the cards for me?
Put the money on the table then, Jonathan, and open your mind.
Perhaps later. What can you tell me about the neighborhood?
I really don't know. I don't often go outside. And when I do, it's usually to quite distant destinations.
So you see nothing in the stars for me? You're a poor fortune teller then?
Oh, I can tell you many things. But they will only concern you, not the city. For example, I know that you offered your sister the final rest she asked for.
Do the cards speak of my Mary?
No. It's the burning aura of guilt that precedes you everywhere you go.
Read my fortune, then.
You have been chosen, Jonathan. I see on you the mark of a strong being, so powerful it needn't even reveal its strength.
Tell me about yourself. What do you do here, besides turning cards in the middle of the night?
I'm for most a charlatan. For a few, I'm a vampire. And for you, I'm the primate of St. Paul's Stole.
For how long have you been a primate?
It was 15 years last year.
What do you make of Dr. Swansea?
Edgar is a brilliant and dedicated man. A man of his time, sometimes a little muddled, but always looking for new paths and new concepts.
Some believe you to be a vampire. Who?
The Guard of Priwen. Who else? For a time, they sent spies to observe my activities, and they even broke into my home to gather proof.
Did they steal anything from you?
A personal notebook they quickly took to their headquarters. All they had to do is to look at me. I'm aging. What better and definite proof that I'm not an immortal?
Do you want your notebook back?
If you ever find it, I'd be glad to have it back, of course. I do ask one thing, though. Do not read it, Jonathan. Some secrets are not meant to be revealed, even to immortals.
How do you measure the amount of blood on my hands?
I told you. The cards always tell the truth. Well, most of the time.
Is it possible to tell me my future?
A vampire's fate is much more delicate to read, Doctor. But I can try.
All right. Let me hear it.
The walls of your prison have already been raised, Jonathan. But you will freely accept to be locked inside, full of hope for a better day.
I would rather not know. How do you measure the amount?
I told you.
Is it possible?
Vampire.
May I ask you about the Brotherhood?
Of course. But I must warn you that there are some subjects we consider taboo, in spite of our fondness and acceptance of your kind.
I know there is no love lost between the Guard of Priwen and the Brotherhood. What caused this rift?
It was 1801. The Brotherhood was stronger then. A strength that made them hungry for ever greater power. An argument divided them, and the wound never healed.
What was the nature of the disagreement?
The problem was that both sides considered themselves the legitimate heirs of the original Brotherhood. We divide up the books, the relics, not always fairly or with consideration.
Who founded the Brotherhood?
That's precisely the kind of question I cannot answer. It is delicate, and may reveal some of our secret traditions.
So you're not just a club of academics and scholars?
Once upon a time, very long ago, the Brotherhood did more than simply study the vampires. They took actions to eliminate the more ferocious and corrupted.
How did you learn about Mary? And spare me the hocus-pocus parlor tricks. The truth, now!
Swansea told me. Don't look at me like that. His task is to observe and gather information about vampires. He had to tell me about Mary.
Mary did not deserve her fate. She had already suffered enough during her life. And yet the pain and the suffering went on after her death.
Suffering is part of the immortal condition. Some prefer to lose their minds rather than face the simple truth. The pain will never stop.
Goodbye, sir. Until we meet again.
I rarely wander. Perhaps London will survive the epidemic. Good evening. I rarely... Fool and the Empress. Again. What are the cards?
You leeches need killing.
Who distribute flowers in this room?
beast! We will crush this beast! Oh my god! Crawl back to the hell and Stay back, beast!
I cannot enter.